What's that like?
What's going on, people? Hey, it's another edition of the What's That Like podcast, and I'm your host, John Knowles. Here we are, episode 5 of the new season here in 2024, and I'm bringing to you a guest that I've been bugging for at least the last 5 or 6 years. You know him from this area. You've heard him on the radio. He was once the voice of the Toppers, and I'm bringing you none other than my friend Tobin Ott. Tobin, how you doing? Welcome to the What's That Like podcast, buddy.
How you doing? You know what? I haven't been called the voice of the Toppers in a long time. It's been a long time. Pleasure to be here.
It has been a while, but I know those folks that over there in Montgomery County certainly know this voice as they're going to hear it on the show. And it's good to have you here. And they certainly want to catch up with what's been going on with you this last better part of a decade or so. So let's just set where we are today, and then we'll kind of come back. Where are you today and what do you do? And kind of in short, and then we'll kind of take the journey how you got there.
Well, my wife and I, we live in Lake Alfred, Florida, which is kind of like they have an area down here called Orlampa. It's in between Orlando and Tampa. That's basically where we are. My wife is a leader at Animal Kingdom over the primate carnivore team. I am a coordinator, which is kind of like assistant manager at a restaurant at Epcot called the Garden Grill. And coming soon, I'm going to be moving down to their quick service location to give me other avenues under my belt. I'll be a coordinator at Sunshine Seasons. So moving and shaking. And then if that's not all enough, I facilitate 6 training classes for Disney cast members down throughout property, whether it's at Disney University or at Epcot. So I've been busy.
You are busy, and I can't tell you how many times I walked into. You're in the Land Pavilion, and I would just bump into you, and we'd always have to say a few words, and I'd always say, "Hey, Tobin, I got to get you on my podcast," and I finally made it happen. We're here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've booked Zach Weigel how many times? I mean, but that's all right. It's
Zach almost books himself. He's just part of the show. At this point, he's like part of the show. He's one of those revolving characters.
When I had my talk show back in the day, back in the radio days, yeah, you're right. He pretty much booked himself, especially with that sign in the background, Stamp Out Cancer. I'm sure he probably would have been on about 3 or 4 times if I was still doing my talk show.
Yeah, he does do the promo, but let's not enough about Zach. Yeah. Let's talk about Tobin. Tobin, you grew up in Staunton just like I did. Tell me about your upbringing and kind of what you wanted to do when you grew up.
Pretty much born and raised. Well, I was born in Springfield, but raised in Staunton. So I'm Bulldog born, Bulldog bred. Sooner or later, I'll be at Memorial Park as a Bulldog dead. And went to Staunton, always had an inkling to get into radio at some point. So I had my passion was for that in some capacity. Ironically enough, the guy that got me my passion installed was Bob Barker, of all people. And so, yeah, I always had the passion of going into radio. Graduated in 96. Went to college at SIUE, did the mass communications, speech communications thing, ended up on the radio at WSIE, 88.7 FM, the jazz station of St. Louis, where I was basically board op and did weekends, and the general manager was like, "We like your tempo, we like your presentation. What do you think about doing mornings?" Well, I'm a college guy doing a morning show. I'm a date's work best friend because I have to have you home by 8 because I have to be on the air at 4 or 5. So we did the morning show thing until I graduated in, 2000. Didn't end up in radio. he ended up working at Bank of America for a little bit. And then they merged with Fleet Bank and it got laid off. So, and then it was ironic. I got to the last week of my unemployment and Hayward Talley called me, asked me if I wanted to do news full time. I was already at WSMI doing part time.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm like, sure. So we had a discussion because normally I was a disc jockey. And I'm like, you got to give me time to get the mannerisms and the voice work down. But absolutely. And then I did that for, 15 years?
Wow. 15 years, really?
Mm-hmm. And then my wife got the opportunity to become a animal caretaker down here at Disney. Had you know how it is. You have those heart-to-heart conversations. We weighed out the pros and cons. I felt that this was an opportunity we couldn't pass up, and we moved. Yeah. While during that time frame, I was on the planning commission for the city of Hillsborough. I just got appointed to be planning chairman for Montgomery County.
Wow.
Yeah, shortest term ever. And then I did the public address thing for Hillsborough High School. I did public address for basically all the senior nights that they had there, but primarily the girls and the boys basketball team and the football team.
Right.
So yeah, we dropped everything and we moved down here on a gamble, on a whim. We kind of bet it on ourselves, and so far so good.
Great. Well, let's go back to WSMI. I mean, obviously that's the anchor here in Central Illinois of radio. Whether you're a kid, no, nobody does this anymore. I was saying, when I was a kid, I listened a lot for school closings, but now you just watch the TV or you check on Facebook. But everybody knows what WSMI. You mentioned Herbert Talley. What did it mean if you wanted to do radio that you kind of landed on the flagship of Central Illinois? I mean, WSMI is huge, still is.
It is. When I got enthralled with WSMI, everything just kind of fell into place, like the stars aligned. Terry Tote may rest in peace, was looking for a part-time guy. I was interested. I was there, and we ended up doing part-time, and then things developed among itself. I was there from 2000 until we moved in 2015. So it was a good run. And
you said you covered mostly news. Is that what you said? Mm-hmm. What when I look at that kind of opportunity, you become more than just a name. You're a voice. It's like, the folks that are there today, the John Michael Marty, for instance, right? And John, I swear to God, I'm calling you very soon. You're going to come on the show. We've been talking about it for years too. But, what did it mean to you inside to know that you were someone that was known? I don't want to celebrity is a goofy word, here in Central Illinois, but you're kind of the voice and an anchor to things. What does that make you feel like?
It felt pretty good. I mean, I guess it really never hit me well because I was still Tobin. I was still T.O. in Hillsborough. I was still Tobin in Staunton. Mm-hmm. And I never really changed. I had a job to do. I did it. I had some memorable stories.
Give me a couple. What were the big stories that you did that if we were sitting down, having a cocktail, you'd tell me about?
All right. The number one story that will always set with me, and you've done a podcast on this, the Coliseum Ballroom.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Because I was in Staunton when that happened, and Mickey Robinson called me, and he's like, "You need to get down here." So I did, and I didn't realize how big that was until I got there. You had St. Louis media there, Springfield media there. Even Chicago media was there. Mm-hmm. And it was just surreal about that scenario. Because, that was an historic building. I never had the chance to appreciate the ballroom like others have. but you knew it was there.
Right.
And you knew the history of it. And then the other one, speaking of Hayward Tally, we had, now this is party affiliation aside, Senator Dick Durbin was in town and he wanted to swing by the office for a one-on-one interview. So I'm doing editing and Hayward comes into my office. He's like, the Secret Service would like to talk with you. And you always knew with Hayward, if something was major, because he would take off his glasses. And he took off his, is there something I need to worry about? I'm like, no. So I go out, and the Secret Service was out in the lobby area. And he's like, well, we just want to inspect the building because the senator's coming in here. And at that time, it was kind of hostile unrest, if you will. And they were just looking for a place inside the studio that the senator could go in the event something would happen. But it just made me laugh because he comes walking in. It's like, the Secret Service was looking for you. There's something I need to know.
The way you tell it, it's so good.
Over time, it's just a core memory, if you will. But yeah.
Interesting stuff. We just actually, Zach was on last week and we were talking about one Senator Dick Durbin, party affiliation aside, really for him to, he could be a cog in helping Zach's quest to end lunch shaming, which is a big deal, but great. And then you mentioned the Coliseum. Yes. If you haven't listened, there's no video on this one, folks, but if you go back in the podcast archives, wherever you get your podcasts, right, there is an episode, I think from 2017 or 18 where,
like that,
I had Jim Marcacci and John Euban talking about the history of the Coliseum. And certainly we talked about that fateful night that you're referring to, Tobin, where it burned to the ground. I had a role to play there as well as a firefighter.
You were burned, yeah.
Yeah, so interesting stuff. So at some point, you said for a while you became the voice of the Toppers at the football games. I mean, you just became this community person there. You talked about being, so big into Montgomery County planning. I mean, I bumped into you all the time at the Moose in Hillsboro. I mean, and then talk about those times, what it meant to you, of the feeling it got. You seemed like you were just on this path to being a major pillar there, as you were. Not on the way, you were.
The plan. Thank you on that. The Planning Commission, former Mayor Bill Barron of Hillsboro, approached me and said, "Hey, I got a spot on the Planning Commission. Would you be interested?" And we had a meeting at the Hillsboro Country Club, and it just kind of fell into place. And then kind of similar thing kind of happened with the County Planning Commission. They had a spot open. The county board I believe, if I recollect right, recommended me. I got on it. And then the chairman retired. So they were looking for a new chairman. Well, ironically enough, my wife and I, we were doing a fundraiser for Stamp Out Cancer because we were one of the dancing teams.
Right. That's right. You're an alumni.
Yeah.
Did Retro Rocket play the show for you?
They did.
We did. That's right.
That's right. You did. You did.
I remember now. Yes.
I got to play a story on that one too. But and they came over to Gianni's, which used to be downtown. Which Vince is the guy you need to get on the talk show sometime if you can get him.
Who's this?
Vince Vitale, the owner of Gianni's Pizza.
Will do. I wrote your name down, Vince.
He's a good guy. They asked me if would you be interested in being chairman? Well, we had the Disney thing kind of coming up, but it wasn't really for sure. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Because we wanted to keep things normal. We wanted business as usual. So, yeah. And then the Disney thing happened, and then we came on. The Moose thing, that was interesting. They were looking for a governor and an administrator. And I was already a member. the Moose was kind of like, I guess, kind of like Concordia or maybe Turner Hall in Mount Olive. And so I took over the governorship and stayed with that. And then the administrator left. So I took that position because we wanted a smooth transition and the staff already knew me.
Mm-hmm.
So I got involved with that. That was interesting. That was fun. And then the PA announcing with the Toppers came about thanks to Donnie Downs. We were at the little local place drinking sodas.
Right.
And yeah, got it. And he's like, the Toppers are looking for a PA guy. I think you fit the mold. And I'm like, okay, I'm like, I did it before when I was in high school for the girls basketball team in Staunton back in the day. And I'm like, I kind of like moving forward, not back. And we were kind of persistent on it. Terry Trader, who was the athletic director at the time, got a hold of me. The rest is history.
Right.
So I initially started with the boys team. Well, that year they had the girls team have regionals. And I'm like, no, we're going to do this right. Just count me in. I will clear up my schedule. I'll do public address for the regionals. We're going to do this right. So then some of the girl team member parents were like, it'd be nice if you would do the girls team as well. Okay. So I picked up the girls and the boys. And then Mike Plunkett, who used to be with the Journal News, he was actually on my talk show. And before the show, he's like, yeah, I'm thinking about stepping down for the football, doing PA for football. Would you be interested? And I'm like, yeah, did that. And so, yeah. So, and then whenever senior night happened for the volleyball team, or they had regionals for the baseball team,
there you go.
I was pretty much out there.
Yeah.
My fun job, though, going back to radio just a little bit, was I called it the tour and festival season.
Okay.
Where I used to go to all the different homecomings.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I think one of them is about ready to start. The Italian American Days will be coming up soon.
That's usually Memorial Day.
Yeah, right. That was always fun because I didn't have to be serious. It was just me out there. Everyone was having a good time. And it was, I just love that atmosphere. So, yeah. So and I still haven't figured out how to play Poli yet in Mount Olive.
Me either. I think you have to be genetically handed down a spot there. I'm not sure, but Mount Olive is the site of the Poli World Championship.
Oh my God.
Right.
I still haven't figured out how to play that thing.
Yeah. So let me go back to a couple of things I don't want to gloss over. One, your talk show. You had a talk show. What was the talk show called? How long did it run? What did you talk about?
Well, it was part of my job at WSMI. So I had the Wednesday morning talk show, which I kind of took over from Terry Toad. So Uncle Ralph Niehaus and I kind of did the Wednesday morning talk show. It was a half-hour show where we just had guests from all around, from either Macoupin or Montgomery County, to help promote their events. And that was that was like a 6-year run. And then part of my job, we had those little informational talk shows. So there was a show called Around Montgomery County, and then the Forum. Mm-hmm. The Forum was pretty much if I had political representatives on or bigger issues, that's where that would go into. And then Around Montgomery County was more of a plug of what's coming up in the county.
Yeah. Interesting times. Yeah. My friend Brad Carson, did you cross over with Brad at WSMI?
From time to time.
Yeah.
I know he's he's a bigwig in Memphis now.
Right. Yeah. He runs ESPN station there and he appears on a couple others, but he always talked about how to this day he could pick up a name and read the obituary in that voice, like WSMI style.
Sean Ballant and I have talked. The last time I saw him, which was at Old Settlers, he kind of said jokingly he had vacation time. He was like, "What if you came home and did the news for old time's sake?" And I'm like, we're still negotiating.
You could do it remotely. You could do it remotely. I'm sure you could.
I told one of my former leaders that I could still do probably my old job in Illinois from here, and no one would even know. She's like, "How can you do that?" And I'm like, computer with Google. There's your weather forecast. You get some stories. Boom, boom, boom.
Right.
And it's done.
It's no different than what I'm doing with you right here. Instead of recording, I stream it. I could do it that way. So Tobin, let's talk. How do I say? Tell me about your love life, right? You meet your wife, right? So this becomes so you meet your wife in Hillsboro. You said you hinted, or you talked a little bit about it earlier, that she's the reason you guys made the big life change to pick up and gamble and move to Florida, right? So talk about her, what she does, and how it got you to Disney World.
Okay, so my wife is originally from Tuscola. She was a lead zookeeper at the Scoville Zoo in Decatur. And we just met through the online, well, I'll just say it, the online dating thing.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
And so one thing led to another. We got married. I went to a city council meeting, got home, and she's sitting in the couch and she's like, "Hey, Disney's got an opportunity for an animal caretaker position. I think I'm going to apply." And I'm like, "Okay, fine, go ahead and apply." And lo and behold, she had 2 Skype interviews. And ironically enough, I was getting ready for my talk show, Wednesday morning talk show. And she calls me and she's like, "Are you sitting down?" And I'm like, so my mind's starting to think, okay, what's wrong with the car? Do I need an attorney? And she's like, "Well, I got a phone call." Then my mind starts thinking, well, what's going on with my family? Because maybe they called her instead of me. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? And she's like, "I got a phone call from Disney." I'm like, okay, that's good. And Disney, for those that don't know, when you apply, everything is online. And they will tell you in consideration, no longer in consideration, where you are in the hiring process. And the next thing, she's like, they offered me a job. I just took a drink of coffee and I did a spit take. And I'm like, what do you mean they offered you a job? It said no longer in consideration. We moved on. I have the radio thing. You have the Scoville thing. It works. And I guess when they interviewed her, they liked her so much that they offered her a different position than what she applied for. And the rest is history.
Wow.
So, and that was 2 weeks before we did Stamp Out Cancer. So no one knew that we were moving. It was just kind of like, okay, series finale, folks, goodbye.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, it was that quick. And luckily enough, I have family that lives in the Tampa area. They helped us find, they helped us to find an apartment to move into. And then we loaded up everything and we've been down here 8 years since.
Take me through that decision, right? Because, you know, I'm married, I've got kids, and, you know, I've never had to pick up and move across the country for a job.
Right.
But I can't imagine the stresses that must have placed upon you, and maybe I would have prayed about it, right? Am I doing the right thing? You mentioned earlier it was a gamble that's paid off. I imagine it's a great time and such a sad time in your life. Take me through your emotions there as you walk through that process. It was emotional
because, especially the week, because she got the call that HR is going to get back with her within the week. So we had a week to kind of think about it, but also we had the unknown. We didn't know what the offer was going to be or how this was going to play out. So it was kind of tumultuous at that time. Ironically enough, when we got that phone call, we went to a Chinese buffet in Hillsboro. And you know how they give you the fortune cookies?
Right. Oh God, this is going to be good.
Yeah. We opened up the fortune cookie and I read it, and it said, "Keep your eyes open. Good things are headed your way." And I put it down and I'm like, "Well, hon, the fortune cookie spoke." And she looked at it and she laughed. And then HR called the next day after HR called, it was like minus 10 degrees. And it was like the windy, cold.
Right.
You know? And she's like, "Yeah, we're moving." I don't think we discussed it, but in my mind, I thought this was an opportunity. I'm a firm believer that when opportunity knocks, you better listen, because you don't know when you're going to get it again. And this was our opportunity knocking. And the other thing that kind of sold us is Disney has a great adoption program, which we were in the middle of trying to adopt a child.
Wow.
So it was, again, one of those things where it's like things fell into place, and it was like meant to be.
All the planets aligned.
Yeah.
So she's doing great. She's at Animal Kingdom still to this day, right? Tell me,
she's moved up the ranks. She went from hourly to salary. Now she's in leadership. So yeah.
So you guys are doing okay. You're on Disney benefits, right? You get the perks of being a Disney cast member. But before you made a drastic change in a career. So was Disney like, okay, I'm going down there and I'm working for Disney too? Was that in the back of your mind what you wanted to do? Were you a big Walt Disney World fan and it was just something you always you aspired to, or is it just the way that it happened?
Well, I mean, to give you a little backstory on myself, my brother also worked for Disney. He was a CP.
Oh, wow.
He opened Mission Space. And then my cousin Mindy and Tim also were cast members. So when I went to the college interview, I got overlooked. So my time was just delayed just a little bit. I wasn't happy in semi-retirement, but my wife's like, "Yeah, you need to go to casting. Let's go. Let's get you working." And so that was a simple process, just going to casting, and I got the call and got hired and been with the company ever since.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a no-brainer that I wasn't going to go to Disney. It was just a matter of when. Not
yet. Yeah. You mentioned,
exactly.
So you had 3 family members that were, you said CP, that's college program, correct? Yeah. And you mentioned Mindy. I went to high school with Mindy. Hi, Mindy. Good to see you again. My daughter did the CP, right? So she was there for a year, or not a year. I think she was there.
We were in the same building, weren't we?
No, she worked in Disney Springs at Once Upon a Toy and a couple of the other places in Disney Springs. But she did, I think, I'm not sure she ever took a shift at Epcot. She did holiday parties, I know, at Hollywood in the Magic Kingdom. I'd have to ask her again. I'm not sure if she did work you were at the Land Pavilion. Right. And so this is where Tobin and I kept bumping into you. So when my daughter's down there in 2019, she's a cast member. I was an annual pass holder for a couple of years. So I made it a point. I think in 2019, I spent 34 days in Orlando across many months. Right. But I would bump into you all the time. It was always just fun to walk by, and you'd be right at the front of the Garden Grill. You just said it wasn't a matter really of if, but when you would kind of work at the House of Mouse. What's the best part of working at Disney?
The best part is that talking with the guests and creating magical moments.
Yeah,
there's nothing better than that.
And I mean, give me some stories, right? You know, I'm sure everybody's got them, right? And because my daughter would say, "Oh my God, I made this happen today." Tell me what some of your favorite moments are.
When I became a coordinator, I was table touching. So basically, when I say table touching, you're going around the tables, making sure everything is doing fine. Yeah. Okay. So I look up, and we have this little stairwell that goes up into our upper deck seating. And this guy looks at me and gives me this. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, that's normally not a good sign. So I'm like, okay, here we go. And
if you're listening instead of watching, he got the finger to wag him over. That's what you're saying. The index finger.
Yeah, yes. Anyway, he goes, "Are you Tobin Ott from WSMI?" And I'm like, "Oh, that depends on who's asked." He's like, "I thought that was you." And so, and it was Buck Moeller, who I used to work with at the Moose, his cousin or something like that. It's like, "I thought that was you." We've had people from a large table from Litchfield that I took a picture of. And I said, "Okay, 1, 2, 3, orange and black is where it's at." So no, I enjoy talking with the guests. I enjoy making sure that they're having a good time. And it doesn't, you know, it's funny. I've been with them for 8 years. It doesn't feel like I've been there for 8 years. It feels like maybe 2, maybe 3 at the most. But I've enjoyed every single moment of it. Right. I've got a good crew that I work with. That's kind of like a secondary family. So yeah, it's good. Some of them have now kind of realized my history where I was in radio. And some of them are like, "Why are you not in radio again?" And I'm like, "I have my reasons." But yeah, it's been fun.
So after 8 years at the Garden Grill, right? You're saying you're moving one floor down. Right? It's not, but that doesn't mean it's down the corporate ladder. This is an opportunity for you to go to the quick serve there at the Land Pavilion. And for those of you that maybe aren't Disney people, like, this is at Epcot. Right? One of the pavilions is called the Land. It's most popular for 2 rides. And I'm going to say Living with the Land first, because that's what all true Disney people would say. And for most others, it would be Soarin'. But as you walk into this pavilion, the Garden Grill is right in front of you. And that's where I would bump into you all the time. Right? And now you're going down to the quick serve near the Soarin' entrance. Tell me about this great opportunity.
It was just one thing just got presented to me that, you know, if I was interested in getting the leadership, that I needed a couple more locations underneath my belt, or at least one more. And the opportunity arose to get trained down at Seasons, and I ended up, I guess, being pretty good at it. So we're going to go down there. That's going to give me quick service under my belt, along with table service and outdoor vending as well. So outdoor vending is kind of like the pretzel carts, the popcorn carts that are outside. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be different for me, but you know, I'm ready to rock and roll, ready to go.
As you should be. And so let me wrap this Disney stint up. Tobin, was it a dream to go to Disney?
I mean, it was nice because, you know, you see your brother go down there and have the time of his life. And, you know, you see 2 of your cousins go down and have the time of your life, but you got overlooked. And, you know, it's funny. I'll talk with my brother and he's like, you know, you don't know how jealous I am that you're down there doing this. Cause you know, I'm like, you know, so yeah, it's been fun. It's been surreal.
And you're raising and you mentioned it before, Disney had an adoption program. You do have a son now, and you're raising him. He's at the parks with you all the time. How magical is that?
Yeah, well, he loves going to the parks. He is infatuated with the Flower and Garden Festival, which is ongoing now because they have this huge butterfly house, and he loves to catch caterpillars and butterflies and look at the butterflies. So yeah, so he's like a kid at Christmas right now because he knows the butterfly house is there, and whenever we get an opportunity to take him to Epcot, we're going to. We adopted him, and when he was just 2 days old.
Wow.
And he is now 6. So, as the Kenny Chesney song goes, "Don't blink," I blinked, because he used to be a little toddler in my arms, and now he's a 6-year-old telling me what to do. I mean, which is interesting. But,
well, let me tell you, brother, I got a 20 and a 26-year-old. She's married, to a pharmacist, doing great. My son is still in the house, but he's working every day. You blink and it's over, and it really is.
I'm trying not to, because that means he's going to get a driver's license. I'm like,
oh yeah, there you go. On I-4 traffic, you don't want that. So where I was going with this dream thing, Tobin, you 2-3 weeks ago, I'm on Facebook, we're friends, and I see bucket list item checked off. Tell us about this bucket list.
So, as a kid, and I'm sure most adults not always plan their day, but sometimes the day revolves around kind of like The Price is Right. 6 days, 11 o'clock, Price is Right. And I was always enamored with that show. I can't tell you how many sick days from school Bob Barker got me through, how many doctor's appointments Bob Barker or Drew Carey got me through. But it was always a part of my life. My wife and I went to The Price is Right live when it was at the Fox Theater in St. Louis a couple times. Or no, not Fox Theater, Steeple, the Peabody.
Correct. Yep.
And I always thought, man, it would be cool to do that once. So lo and behold, we had some vacation time coming up, and we wanted to do a family trip where it was just us. And we found a way to go to Los Angeles. And my wife's like, if I get you that close to The Price is Right and you don't go, you're not going to be happy. So we went to, I went online because most of their tickets are on their website. And they had a taping on the trip, during the trip that we were going to be down while we were going to be over there. And I ended up getting a ticket. When I first signed up, it was basically standby. So that means you're in the holding room. It's not guaranteed you're going to get into the studio, but there could be a chance. They're going to try to get everyone in. I went back, and the standby went to priority seating, which means you're in the studio.
Wow.
So I switched the tickets to priority seating, and that was it. I did The Price is Right, which was phenomenal.
Okay. So it aired on March 5th, right? Mm-hmm. We're recording this the day after you're listening to this. The week after you were there. So if you've got YouTube TV, or you probably DVR it, like I'm sure Tobin did. And I'm going to sprinkle in some images of you as we go here, Tobin. So you were there by yourself, or you were there with your wife?
I was there by myself because individuals in the studio audience have to be 18 and older. So with a 6-year-old.
Gotcha. Somebody had to stay. Okay.
Yeah.
So then I am sure you did a lot of research going into this, right? So you're in the studio, your priority seating, right? And I saw you in the studio on the show, right?
Mhm.
And we delayed this taping actually because I wanted to watch first and see what the outcome was going to be. But
Right.
I'll let you say it. Did you get on the stage?
I did not, but I went in there with the mentality that I'm playing with house's money.
Okay.
If I got on, that's a cherry on top. If I didn't, you know what? I'm in the studio audience. I'm doing something that I never thought I would do ever in my lifetime, and I'm there. So yeah, I already won by the time I walked into the studio.
Is there a strategy I've read or I've seen? There's a documentary about The Price is Right. And I'll throw the link in the description here. It's about a guy that hacked The Price is Right, years ago, back in the 80s. And, he basically kept track of all the prices. So when he got on the show, he ran away with the show. Is there a strategy to get from the audience, or is it completely 100% random?
Completely 100% random. So when I went, they have an audience prep area, which is at a Korean church, which is right next to the studios. And then what they would do is they would file people in, groups in. I can't remember if it was like 10 at a time, 12 at a time. And then you're in there with the producers. And they'll just go, John, tell me a little bit about yourself. And in that way, they get an idea of your energy and what you can bring to the table.
Gotcha.
And they went all the way down the road, and they did that till everyone was done. And some of the people went over the top. That's not my style.
You were going to be something you weren't, is what you're saying. You're not going to.
Yeah. I was a little more energetic than I normally am, but I wasn't like over the top. And I had a strategy. I bought a shirt, and I don't have it with me right now, but anyway, there's a company called Roosevelt's that does basically, sometimes they do Disney inspired shirts and that. Well, they also do Happy Gilmore inspired shirts.
Yeah.
And I happened to be on the website, and they had a shirt called The Price is Wrong. And it's a silhouette of Bob Barker fighting
with Happy Gilmore. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The price is wrong, Bob.
So that's what I wore. Ironically enough, the day we filmed, they were having torrential weather. I mean, it was like weather phenomenon. Like the mayor came out and was like, Los Angelinos, you stay home. Everything's going to be fine. You just don't even, if you don't have to leave, don't. And I'm like, that's interesting. But yeah, I got up at, what was it, 5 in the morning, 4:35 in the morning, got an Uber. They took me to the studios, and I did the process, and it was surreal.
Cool.
It was surreal.
So a couple of questions. I'm always interested in behind the scenes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the show, if you watch it, it's an hour with commercials. It's probably 45 minutes of actual show. How long does a taping take?
It's about an hour.
Really? So it's pretty much live. Were there any like retakes or anything? Anything okay, so that's good. Is it like Jeopardy or Wheel of Fortune where they tape 5 in a day, or is it one show, one day?
I think they tape 3 in a day.
Gotcha. Yeah. And so you mentioned getting tickets. If anyone's wondering, you go to a website and you're basically registering for a slot on a day that could be, sounds like one of 3 shows, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like what I did was I went on pricesright.com, and then on the right-hand corner it says get tickets, and you click on it, and it'll take you to the ticket link, and it'll give you the dates of their filming dates, and then you pick the date that works for you. If it says standby seating or standard seating, you're not necessarily guaranteed to get into the studio, but they try to work to get those guys in as well. If it says priority seating, then you're guaranteed you're going to get into the studio.
Okay, so you were there at 6:30 in the morning, right?
Mm-hmm.
What time did you get out of there? Silly questions.
Probably it was probably around 11:30 noon.
Okay, and were you the first show of the day?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so then there were still two more to go. I got you.
Mm-hmm.
What did you see in person that surprised you versus being a fan on TV all of those years?
What amazed me was I always thought the set was going to be enormous, and it's itty bitty.
Really?
All in what I thought it was going to be.
Were there pauses? Did Drew interact with you in between?
Oh, Drew interact.
Uh-oh. Tobin's getting visual aids.
So, quick edit there.
There we go.
So this is like the ticket. So you take that with you, and then Drew takes some questions from time to time in between the games as they get things set up. And one segment he'll sign autographs.
Wow.
So there's Drew Carey's autograph, and then that's the name tag.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and then George Gray does the same thing.
And he's the announcer?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So it was a surreal experience. And what shocked me was how loud that studio is.
Yeah.
It's almost like if you're going to a basketball game at a high school and the team's really doing well and that gym's got juice and it is loud. I'm like, whoa, it was loud.
So you didn't get on, you weren't picked to go to, it's called Bidders Row, right?
Contestants row. So you didn't make it to the contestants row. My question is, did you prepare a strategy? Did you have a strategy going in? Because you're not going into this thing thinking you were satisfied just being in the audience, but you had to have thought about it. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bid the $1 more. What were your thought process around that whole thing? I honestly, and you're going to laugh at this, I really didn't have a thought process because I didn't think I was going to get picked anyway. And I'm like, even if it did, I think the hysterical moment would be me coming down the contestants row because I don't know how I would have acted because I think the shock would have just taken over. I was just there to enjoy this and just to have fun.
Take it all in. Yeah.
Take it all in. And it was surreal. It was very surreal.
Well, Tobin, I mean, this has been great. I've known you. I feel like I know you so much better now. That is when people ask me why I do the podcast. It's like, I don't think I've had too many guests where I did not know them at all. You and I knew each other. We're acquaintances. But one of the best things about doing this is that I get to know people better. And I feel like I've made a friend, and it's gone deeper. And this is what I've gotten out of it. It's getting to know you and your story that much deeper than I did before. And certainly our listeners, that knew you before got a great recap. And it's great for you to do that. Would you take a moment and say hi to the WSMI listening area that makes up most of what I do here at the What's That Like podcast?
Wow. It is a pleasure to be back in Macoupin and Montgomery County. Thank you, John, for giving me the opportunity. Thank you for everyone that still follows me 8 years after the fact, after I said my last, and that will do it. It means a lot. I always treasure the relationships that I have, and I still keep in touch with a lot of people back home. I enjoy coming back home, even if it's for like the Staunton homecoming for a fish sandwich and a lemonade shake-up.
Yeah.
And
you're still a huge Blues fan.
I am. You can't see, I got a Blues display over on my side here, but
very nice. So
yeah, they're not doing too well this year, but we got one Stanley Cup. That's all I can say.
So Tobin, when I get guests that know each other, one of the things I'm going to do is have one of my previous guests ask my next guest a question. So last week we talked about it a little bit. We had Zach Weigel on the show, And I asked Zach if he had a question for you.
Oh, dear God.
So here we go. So here's the question Zach asked.
Tobin, on the day of your wedding, you had something appear on your front lawn. Has anything like that appeared on your front lawn since you moved down to Florida?
No.
So explain it, because I don't even know what that means.
Okay. Oh, Zachy won. So on my wedding day, I got up early and I went to the Moose Lodge for breakfast and to make sure the bar and everything, we had everything that we needed for the reception, because our reception was at the Moose Lodge. When I came back, I had breakfast with the Table of Knowledge. They were telling me, "No, don't do it. Don't do it. It's not working." When I came back, there was a toilet in my walkway. So one of my groomsmen, Chris Shear, I called, and he came running over. And they put Baby Ruth in the toilet along with orange juice. So he opens up the toilet and he's like, "Well, I don't know, but that person, whoever did this, is extremely dehydrated." So I'm like, I'm to the point of like, I'm not livid, but I'm like, this is not cool. John Downs, Donnie Downs' father, former mayor of Hillsborough, came over, helped me lift the toilet into his pickup truck to remove it. So yeah, but no, nothing like that's ever happened here. Mm-hmm.
Well, there you go. Zach,
Yeah.
Did you think that was going to get asked today, Tobin?
No. Well, Zach and I go way back. There could have been a million things that he could have gone with. So yeah, but no toilets in the house here.
One final question. I didn't have it written down, but it seems appropriate to ask you. It is Stamp Out Cancer season, right? Mm-hmm. You're an alumni. You got any advice for this season's contestants?
Have fun with it. I'll tell you, if I got some time, the funny story about Stamp Out Cancer, Zach was on me about doing it for a long time. And I kept saying no, I wasn't interested. And then he called me. My wife was at the house. And I said, "I don't think you'll get Amanda to do it. It's not, no." And lo and behold, Amanda's like, "No, I'll do it." So we ended up doing it. We had fun with it. We did, what did we do? We did a fundraiser at the Four Seas Winery in Coffee. Mm-hmm. We had Retro Rocket playing at the Moose Lodge. We even attended bar at the not Church Street pub, but the Courthouse pub, mm-hmm. which I didn't know my wife could bartend, but I'm like, she was like Tom Cruise in
Cocktail. Yeah.
Oh my God, where did this come from? But no, we enjoyed it. I mean, it was fun. The only thing was that coming up with a dance for it was kind of, I'm not a dancer, so I'm not going to do anything like really off the wall professional.
This was the era of Dancing with the Stars.
The Stars,
right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if we're gonna do something, let's have fun with it. So I don't know. Do you remember the movie Naked Gun 2.5?
Yeah.
The dance scene with Priscilla Presley and Leslie Nielsen, where the dress rips and the olive, yeah.
I'm going to cut that in. I'll cut that in over this. This will be great.
There's a video of us dancing somewhere.
Send it to me. You got to send it to me.
I don't have it.
Yeah.
I don't have it. I used to have it. I don't have it. You might have to get with Zach on that one. So we did that dance because it's like, I'm not doing some elaborate thing. I'm not doing the Dirty Dancing whole, I mean, because that's been done millions of times. I'm like,
be funny. Yeah.
Why not this?
Yeah.
This was fun.
And now Stamp Out Cancer. Price is game show theme. Price is Right might be on the docket. You missed it, buddy.
One of these days, I would love to come back for that again.
Well,
we had so much fun with it, and you know what? In all seriousness, I applaud that group for all the money that they've raised for the Montgomery County Cancer Association. Are they over $1 million yet, or is it supposed to be this year?
Potentially will cross over $1 million this year.
Yeah. That's outstanding.
Yeah, we just
going from an event that started at the country club in Hillsborough as Beat the Bartenders, or I can't remember what it was. I think, it was Beat the Bartenders, to what it is now. Unreal.
It is. And that's why Zach told us all about it last week, and it was really kind of cool. But no, I was talking to Zach last week, my band Retro Rocket. We had played either like your event, right, at the Moose. We had played an event for a team every year for, I think, the last 10 years. And this year, we weren't booked as of last week. And as of 3 days ago, now we are. So we'll be preparing with Team Hitch Up at the Drive-In on March 16th from 1 to 5 p.m. And we're going to open the Drive-In with a big show that day. And they've got a bags tournament and carny games and all kinds of stuff going on. So Retro Rocket's back with Stamp Out. We were the float. We rode the float every year in the old Settlers Parade. We love being a part of SOC. It's great.
The Drive-In, if there was ever a place to interview that I could interview, the Skyview Drive-In would have been on the top of the list. I could not imagine the stories that have been told or could be told from that Drive-In.
Everybody's got a story. And the good news is now I know who runs it because I've been talking with you, Chelsea. We'll see you on this show at some point too. So Tobin, I always say we got to land the plane. I could talk to you all afternoon.
Oh, we could.
It's fun to get to know you a little bit better. And thank you for being a guest here on the What's That Like podcast, buddy.
Anytime you want me on, I'll be more than happy to come on for you.
All right. Well, thank you, Tobin. Thank you to all of you for watching on YouTube or listening. Please subscribe however you get this podcast. We need the YouTube subscriber growth more than anything. But that's it. That's Tobin. I'm John for the What's That Like podcast. Peace out.